points into the transmission.
I couldn't find points into the transmission in your...
You don't need to. Torqueness, tight. That's all it asks for. Read the manual. It's in there. Hey guys, what is up? It's Biff, and in today's episode, we are going to service the transmission on this 2019 Kia Stinger. It's warming up right now. There we go. Can't find your dipstick tube to check the level? Don't worry about it. We're gonna show you how to do it, and it's not easy. Sorry, stay tuned. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jack it up and put it on jack stands, all four corners. I wanna keep it level, so I'm just gonna check here. My height, 7 1/4, and just under 6 1/2. So I'll go ahead and raise it up, and I will make sure that that one is 3/4 of an inch higher than the front, and that'll be level. I've got it running, I've driven it, so I can get the transmission warmed up. There is a temperature spec that I'm going to tell you about that we need to be between to check the level. But first, let's get this thing up in the air. $15 1/4 on the front, 16 on the back. We've got our 3/4 of an inch rake, if you will. So now we're ready to get underneath. It's nice and warm down here, that's for sure. So first thing, glasses on. I'm going to throw some gloves on because this is going to be messy, and I have a pan here to catch the fluid that's going to come out. Oh, hello, hot exhaust. I might opt against the creeper because it's just got me uncomfortably close to all of this heat. A couple things we're going to need. I've got a pyrometer here from Harbor Freight that I can use to check the transmission temp. It's 134 degrees. I believe it needs to be between 142 to 144. I will pop the temperature up here so you can see it. And I've also got an 8mm hex key so that I can get in here and open this up. So the one furthest from you, closest to the passenger side of the car, is the one I'm going to break loose here. This is a plastic case. I'll show you in a minute why that is. Essentially it's because the whole thing is replaceable. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, and we should see a steady stream of fluid coming out, about like that. That is showing us that we are actually filled to the right amount. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this back in for now. I'm just shooting the transmission. I actually had a better view on that side, but let's see if you can get a view of this. So there I am on the metal, showing about 145 on it right there. On the other side I was shooting about 132, I think. So it's somewhere up there in the definitely warmed up range. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and shut it off, because we are doing this as a filter and fluid change. So let me go ahead and shut it off and get you out from under here and talk to you up above. As I've shown you, not the easiest car to check transmission fluid on. I've been at this, about 20-25 minutes now to get it jacked up. After I warmed it all up, got under there to pull the plug and check that our fluid's right where it needs to be. And it actually looks like a decent color. So why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I've been noticing that as I come to a stop and I'm braking, as it shifts from about 3rd gear down to 2nd gear, it really gives more of a jolt than any of the other gears do when they're downshifting. And because of that, the braking takes more effect during that jolt, which makes it even more accentuated. And it's been upshifting from 2nd to 3rd a little bit harder when it's cold here lately. And I'm getting ready to take this thing to the track in about a week and a half, and I don't want to have any transmission problems when I'm out there abusing it. So I'm just going to go ahead at 33,000 miles and swap this out. I think it's recommended at about 60,000 miles. So the next thing we're going to do is, to get ready for replacement, is go in there and take out the drain plug. Okay, there's a really good resource out there. I'll put a link in the description below. And in fact, it's the only thing I found on the internet that tells you how to check your fluid in these cars, or to change the fluid in the transmission of these cars. So they're obviously a sealed transmission, not meant to be ever messed with until you hit the 60,000 mile point, and then you do this procedure, most likely at a dealer, and who knows how much that would cost you. I bought this kit from Blau Parts. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. I think for the pan and the fluid and everything I need, it was about pushing $500. No, it pushed more than $500. It was $530 to get all this. I did get the extra amount of fluid, so they offer the kit that comes with the pan, and you can see here, this one is even marked a little better. Mine doesn't have this, but it tells you here's the level plug and here's the drain plug, so that's kind of nice. Again, like I say, it's a plastic pan, and you will see the difference in these two plugs. This one is the fluid level plug. That way, the fluid, when it's up above this level in the pan, it trickles over the top of this and drains down through the hole like we saw. We've got a magnet in here to catch any sediment, any metallic parts, so we'll see a couple of them. We'll see when we pull ours off if there's anything on there. And then this is the drain plug. The filter pack, which you can see is built in right here into the pan. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got some height to it if you look in through the tube. But yeah, if you see in there, you can see a little bit of the filter element inside there. So it draws in through these holes here and then probably pumps it back out up through this so that you get all your sediment getting trapped by these magnets as it flows into the filter and then pumps out of the filter right here up into the transmission. It's already got the rubber gasket on it, and it will have all the bolts that go with it so that we can completely change this entire cover and filter at the same time. As for the oil, or the transmission fluid, this is what they send with it. It's this Ravenol SP4RR, and it is a German-made fluid that meets all the specs for this transmission, so high quality. And the kit comes with 7 of these. Yeah, the kit comes with 7 of these, and I think the kit for the cover and 7 quarts is somewhere closer to $300, but with the fluid change that I'm trying to do, I'm going to flush it twice, and therefore that's going to cost us about 6 quarts each time. So I've got 19 quarts of this stuff ready to go, and again, that's what kind of drove my price up to 530 bucks. The reason you flush it is because the torque converter is holding a lot of fluid, and there's a lot of fluid being held inside the transmission. As you can tell, we check this while it's running so that it's at the proper level with all the fluid drawn into the transmission. The next thing we're going to do is pull the drain plug and completely empty as much of this out as we can, and then get ready to go take off the pan and swap in this one. Let's go to this middle drain hole and go ahead and break it loose, and we'll drain this puppy out as good as we can. I'm interested to see actually how much comes out of this now that we've got it shut off. Yep, there you can see. Big difference when it's not running because all that fluid runs down into the pan. All right, so we'll go ahead and let that drain, and then we'll need to pull this front cover off so that we can get to all the bolts. And then now, it should be a matter of removing these 10mm bolts. I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in here just to stop the messiness a little bit. So one hand holding it up. It is a plastic pan, so it's not super hot. And we'll try to drop it down here. Oh, okay, so we got that plug up in there. A little pull to get that to unseat. And we do have a little bit draining off of the, so I'm going to bring this over a little bit. Just looking at our gasket, everything looks good here. Interesting extra piece here that ours doesn't have. Let's get out from under here and take a look at these two pans and see what any differences might be. Okay, so turns out we have a little problem here. You might have been able to tell a little bit when I was pulling these out from underneath the car, but as I was pulling off the old pan, I realized that it was hanging on in more than just the one spot for this, which I had seen over here. Turns out there's a second riser here that has an O-ring on it, that goes up into the transmission as well. So with only one of them, that means that this transmission isn't going to be able to draw fluid in this location, which would be right here. It's Future Biff here, and so I did contact Blau Parts customer service. They put me in touch with their tech department and took the photos I sent them, and they researched it and saw that in fact, yep, these are different. The difference is in the part number here, a 214 versus this new one, which is a 346. So in fact, it does have the two risers here. This is the correct filter for this, what was the Stinger application. So when we're ready to go back in here and actually do the filter change and the 3 flushes, we'll be ready to go. They sent me the extra 7 quarts along with this kit. So altogether here, I have 19 quarts so that I can make sure I have enough to do the 3 flushes. I'm gonna go ahead and take the old one for now, install it, and service it with the 7 quarts that came with this kit. The procedures are going to look the same as what we're doing here, just doing one initial fill, and you'll get the idea. Wiped most of the old fluid out of the old pan, and I've got it flipped over so that any other fluid in the filter can drain out through those 2 inlets into the paper towels. And then over here, what we're doing is getting ready for the ability to pump more fluid in. So grab this cheap Harbor Freight pump that you can see here. Hopefully it'll do the trick. I cut out the top of that so it fits down in there. And we'll fill this with about 4 quarts of the transmission fluid, and then that way we can pump it all in, because it does about 6 quarts a minute. So this would be about 40 seconds worth of pumping, and I don't want to do it 1 quart at a time. So this is all drained off. I'm just going to dab up all the drips here so they don't make a mess when I pull this pan out from under here. And then I'm also going to wipe off the gasket seating surface again. We have our old, and it would be new, but we would want to make sure that rubber O-rings were on these 2 upspouts, and you would want to make sure that they were lubricated with a little bit of transmission fluid. Our gasket is on here. It's all flush. The drain pan plugs are in. So we'll go ahead and push this up here. Seat these 2 points into the transmission. And that goes up in there pretty easily. So we are on there and now ready to throw in some bolts. I'm just going to run them up on this. I'm not going to even snug them. Most resources talk about not replacing this, but just changing out the fluid. So I can't find the torque spec on these bolts, but if I find that, I'll put that up here for you. Right now I'm just going to use a crisscross pattern and go around here and snug them all up by hand, and we will come back whenever we do the pan replacement and be able to get those torqued down. We won't need the drain plug. In fact, I will just torque that. This one we're going to be taking out multiple times, and I got to pull out the plug up here on the side, which is where we're going to fill it. Right up behind the linkage right there. And that's essentially just another 8mm that I had to break loose. It was a little hard to break it loose with just the Allen wrench, so I did put a extension on there to give me more leverage to help out with it. And it was still pretty tight. I probably could have used a 6-inch or longer. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. What's going to be even more fun than getting that out is going to be getting a hose up in there, because that's where we got to fill it. So not ideal. There it is, and it comes with a flat washer on it that there's a replacement in the kit. So the level plug and the drain plug are both torqued to roughly 18 foot-pounds. So that one's good. I don't need to tighten the other one yet because we're going to be pulling out the level plug. My plan is to fill this jug with 4 quarts. Pretty cool quart jugs. Still not cool enough to get up there to this transmission, but for other transmissions that could be pretty cool. I'm gonna try to put this in here.
Are you gonna get sprayed on?
I hope not. All right, let's give it a shot. I don't think it's gonna pump this stuff at 6 quarts per minute.
Going kind of slow.
It is going kind of slow. Okay, let's shut it off.
At least it works.
Yep. Okay, leave that off. We're gonna elevate that and see if it helps. Okay, let's try it again. Doing good, Brian. Appreciate your help. And you can go ahead and shut it off. It's a pretty good system. It's just slow. I think we've put another quart in almost, so we're at about 5 quarts now. 2 to go. Oh, okay, and you can shut it off. All right, now we're starting to seep out. So I'm going to go ahead and start it up. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it on again. So it's gonna be really hard to tell, and it's loud under here. But I've got my rubber hose sitting here. I wanna make sure it doesn't get against the exhaust right there, because we don't wanna burn the hose or start a fire. We got about 5 quarts in it before it started trickling out, maybe a little bit more. So I started it, ran it through drive, park, drive, and park a couple, 2 or 3 times, leaving it there a couple seconds each time so it could draw some of the fluid up. And now we're pumping again to try to get to the 7 quarts, and it's taking more of it right now, so we're good. We do need to let it warm up again before we get a good level check, but keep in mind this stuff should only expand as it gets warmer. So any level check we see initially, if it starts trickling out, should mean that we are have enough in there right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this plug and take a look. Just starting to get some drips. So we'll keep filling it up. Let it get up to operating temperature. We'll check it with the heat gun again. Now we're starting to get a good stream. So I'm going to go ahead and cap that again. Ryan, you can shut it off. I'd say we're at about 6 quarts, roughly. We'll let that heat up. All right, I'm gonna check this again real quick. See how we're looking. Should be flowing out. Yeah, there's a lot coming out now. Get it to the trickle. That's more like what we want it to look like. Okay, I think we're there. Here we go, 120. So, we'll check this one more time. Get it down to the trickle. That's about what we want. Just a trickle, not gonna fill up a quart jar in a minute by any means. We'll put that back in. Take this out. And let's see if we can get this guy back in here. Got the plug in, fans on, you can't hear me. I'm gonna shut it off and then we'll come back and torque these. We are done. I'm gonna check all these bolts again, and I'm gonna go ahead and torque my drain plug. My fill level plug, I should say. That one's good. Now this next one on the side goes to 30, and I'm not sure if I can get this in there, so we will take a look and see what we can do. It's not going to fit. I would have to cut off my socket, which I might have to do. So meantime, let me just snug it up with this guy. I'm going to have to cut about that much off. Sacrifices must be made. It is just a cobalt. All right, one short torque socket ready to go. Seriously? You're not gonna get in there, are you? We are not gonna bother torquing this son of a bitch. We're just gonna tighten it down, man torque. All right, that's tight. All right, we're done. We've got it filled, we've torqued these, we've got the cap in, the pan's secure. Time to bring in our tray and finish this thing up. All right, and there you have it, guys. That's how you not only check the transmission fluid in your Kia Stinger, but if you need to add fluid, it's not easy. But that's how you got to get to it. It really isn't that bad once you get it up in the air. I thought it was going to be a lot messier than it was. Just have a lot of paper towels handy and a big tray to be able to catch most of the fluid. And we didn't make too much of a mess. It's unfortunate that we're going to have to do this again when we get the correct filter pan combo. But the procedure will be exactly the same. You saw how we did it. We'll do the same thing, except what we'll do is after we run it and cycle it and level check it, we'll drain it 2 additional times and add in another 6 or so quarts of transmission fluid to kind of flush out what's in the torque converter that's not being released, right? So we're just kind of doing as much of a flush and a replenishment as we can through 3 iterations. But you guys don't need to watch that to see how it's done, because you just saw it right here. And when I come across these kind of jobs, I always like to find shortcuts for you to help you out. Unfortunately, I couldn't give you much more of a shortcut on this one. But I did find you a parts resource, Blau Parts. Great customer service in helping us handle this problem. And when you're ready to do this to your Kia Stinger, come back to Fearless Mods and we'll show you how. That's going to be it for today, guys. Take care, and we'll catch you again real soon.